understand mathematics and you should be able to like reason a bit, you should be able to use Python without having any problem. Yeah, so on that case, I will be sharing my screen a bit. We have different IDE. Some people use Visual Studio, some people use a lot of things. But today I am just going to a bit use something that is going to be easy for you. So I am going to be using Google Collaboratory a bit first, because in this one I just wanted to understand the basics, so I don't really need you to start cracking your head on how do you use them or sort of things like that. So in that case, I am in my Google Drive, so I will just put it anywhere for now. And then, like I said, you just need to go to your drive and you can click on here, plus sign here, and you go down to more and you have Google Collaboratory. But if this is the first time of you opening Google Collaboratory, so that means you need to first go and to internet, like to your URL, and just type Google Collaboratory first, select it and open it, so that's only when you can have that option with you. So you won't be able to have it if you have never used it before. So you just have to go to URL and probably type Google Collab like this, and then you click on search, and first you need to click here. Once you click on this and you open it up, then that option will be added for you here. If you go to plus sign and then go here, and then you will have it here. If not, you won't be able to have that here. So for me, I have it and you can see it here. And why we are just using this is that I just want to use this to make introduction for you, so that you get to understand that you don't need to start making a lot of installation, and then we later switch back to different ID. Like what I'm saying is that if you look here, you see that this is my own ID, which is PyCharm, and I use this to actually work. And you see here, this is an IDE which I use in working. So but for you, I don't want you to go into this for now. I want you to understand basically what we're supposed to do first, and when you understand that, then we will now go into using different IDE that we want, and then we can use that as well to proceed. And secondly, this IDE I see here, you can install Jupyter Lab here or rest of other this thing to be able to use them whichever way you want it. But basically, like I said, I just want you to understand the basics of I want you just to understand the basics of Python, and then we proceed into using them much better. And here I'm just going to name it Echo Mappers Internship. So this one is using IPG, that is here, notebook, and this is automatically backed up in your drive. And when you look at the interface, it is simple. There is nothing to stress yourself all about. So if you want to install any library, I'm going to show you how to install them. Here is your file, edit, view, insert, runtime, tools, and help. By this side, you can see you can share this. I can share this code. I can share this particular drive with all of you, and you can have it. Here is where you can connect, you can comment, you can do setting, changing the background. And one good aspect of this is that this have AI generated. So once you start working on this, it is integrated with Gemini and then AI, which will help you. Maybe as you're writing a code, it will help you make corrections or help you, gives you idea of what you are trying to do. So generally, this is what we need to understand about this. And like I said, Python is easy because it's just like that. So another thing I just want to say is, how do you install Python? We are going to go into that, on how we are going to install Python. And already, because you have ArcGIS Pro, Python 2.7 or so have been integrated into most of the software you are using. So indirectly, it has been installed for you. And then we are going to talk about that detailedly, yeah, so that you know how to install, because you are going to install Python, and then we are going to run them where you have this IDE that we're going to be using. And then the extension for Python is .py, is the extension for Python. So anytime you are working, that's the correct extension for Python. So you see most of the language you are going to be working on, so it is going to be .py. So every file of Python have to do with .py. Then generally we are just going to be uh, working on them. So first and foremost, we just need to talk about a syntax. So in terms of syntax, are those rules that you set, are those rules that make Python work perfectly. Like there are several ways you can make this and it is not going to work. For example, if we start with, so I am just going to start by typing. Here is where you type, here is where you put up a text, and if you hover over this like this, you will see text or code. So the one you want to put on, you put it up. So I selected text, so that means if I want to type, I will double click and I can say, if I type Python here, and you see anything I type here, this is just the way the output is going to be. But if I put here hash, you see it becomes step 1. If I put 2 hash, it reduces. If I put 3, that goes smaller. So if I want to start, so I can just start with this. You can see here this is bigger, and you can add imagery here, you can add link, you can add italicize it or bold it or whatever you want, you can get it done here. So once you do this and you see this is just like a title, so you can anytime close it or click here to open it. Now for you to start working with this, you need to connect this, and there are 2 ways to connect. Is either you run this thing first or you go here and click connect, and that will automatically allocate the rule time. So you can see here it is connecting, and once it is connected, so it is connecting to Python 3. So you can see this has been connected, and it's going to use some of the resources as you see here. So it is using about, this is Python 3, computing and back RAM and then disk. So you can see the space you are using up here, and you can stay up to here up to 85 hours 40 minutes. So you see the resources you are using here. So generally it is on, and you can see this has connected. Now what do I mean by a kind of syntax? So for example, there are some of the syntax when you're writing code in Python. For example, let me start with print. If I say print and I say print Kingsley, for example, and I run this particular, to run these things, you run it here. So if I run these things like this, I'm going to get this name error because I did not define Kingsley. Now there are some of the built-in function that if you start like this, you see that this print here, because I started with capital letter, it is wrong. So these are set of rules that have to be in place for Python to work. So if you look here, you see this is actually telling me that the name print is not defined because the name print is not defined because this is not the right way. So the right way when it comes to this built-in function is have to be in small letter like this. So if it is in small letter, and that's going to work. So if I say print Kingsley, and you can see here that it works. So first thing you should notice here is that the print is in small letter, and you can see it change. And if I put all of them in capital letter like this, you see that this didn't change. Now you are going to be understanding this a bit by bit. If you look at, see that this, it didn't change because this print you are seeing here is a built-in, this one is not. So these are things we are going to be talking one after the other, but like I said, you are going to also be checking what I'm saying, and you get to understand me better. Now there are some of those rules is what I'm just trying to explain. There are some of the keywords which I'm going to show you, different Python keywords that are built in, and then these ones that are not built in. So there are some of the rules, and these are the rules I'm just trying to explain. Now the another rules is that in Python I am going to use small quotes, that is one, and I'm still going to do like this. You see, this is correct. Now I'm going to start with this again, this kind of rules here, and I'm going to leave it with 1. I'm going to go on with this way, and this is wrong. And another thing, let me just copy up this, and I'm going to put a small quote here. This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is correct, this is wrong, this is correct. Now what do I mean by this is correct? You see here that I started with print, which is built in, and then I say print Kingsley. I started with double quote, and this is okay because this is a string. Strings, like we should already know because we have been in this field. So strings, integer, floats, we're going to be talking about it a bit. I'm just trying to tell you few rules that you set, and you see here that this is correct because it started with double quote and both of them start with open and close. This is simple. I just wanted to print Kingsley. And then here I started with capital letter. This is wrong. And you see here, the only thing that is wrong, different from number 1 and number 2, is that this print is in capital letter and this is small letter. Even if you start this one with capital letter, and you see this automatically makes it wrong. So it ought to be in small letter. But down here, we started with capital letter and the same thing here, but this is wrong. Here, we started with small letter, that is perfect, and single quote and double quote. Single quote here, this one have double quote. This is okay. Now here, started with single quote, double quote, but there is no quote closing it. Now this is wrong. Now this started with double quote and then closing with single quote. This is wrong as well. So these are sets of rules that makes Python readable, and if you don't understand this, you might be having 1 or 2 issues, and this is just what we just need to understand on this particular part. Yeah, so you need to understand these rules because this is the only way you can work, and that's going to work perfectly. So generally you need to do this basics. So what it means is that anything you want to say, to print, or to work on, so you just need to use the right way here. So if you see here hello world, and if you run this cell, you can actually see that this works perfectly. So anything you put in between these brackets, that is parentheses and like this, hello world, I am happy today. Now anything you put in between here and say print, and this is actually going to come out in this particular way because this is correct. But the moment you start with another type of print like this and run it, you're going to have an error because this print is not defined. I'm going to talk about define when I'll be talking about variable. So generally you need to understand these little rules, and that is going to help you in writing a Python code. So just focus on this little explanation. Like I said, I am not going to go into complex things, so we are just going to take it one after the other, and that's going to be easy for you. So another thing we will talk about before I ask you to ask your question a bit is we are going to talk about indentation. Another types of things we need to know in Python is indentation, which is the space that is always comes at the beginning of a code line. And one of them is where we use those type of things. This help us to read it very well, and it also helps. It's very, very important because it uses indentation to understand the block of code, like in terms of block of code. So you use indentation to get to understand it. What is indentation? Like I said, it is the space that is always coming before the line of code. What do I mean? For example, if I say if let's say if 10 is less than 5, which is actually true. If 10 is less than 5, then print. So we're going to say print, let's say 10 is less than 5. So we go in here. Remember that to put the same either single quote or double quote. 10 is less than 5. So in this particular way, oh sorry, I put this is a mistake. So you can see here, this is supposed to be this and not that, and that is why automatically, if you put that, you see what I made a mistake earlier. So if you put this automatically understand that you need to put indentation here, and that comes in here. But if you look here, when I put this in the beginning with mistake, so you didn't understand it. So this is one of the things you need to get. So I have to put shift and this, and then press enter, and that takes exactly indentation. So if I run this, you see that this, I just say this is what we call indentation. So it is a line that comes in front of the code line. So I just say if 10 less than 5, if 10 is less than 5, then print this. So this is just like indentation. So I'm just trying to explain what you mean by indentation. So if you look here, you see that there is a space that is in front of this particular code. So this is just what you need to. But if this thing goes like this, see now there is no error. But if this thing goes like this, then this is going to give you an error, and the error is going to tell you there is that this is indentation error. So it's expecting indentation block after if statement on the line 1. So you see, this is where the problem is. So these are rules you need to understand, that if you don't set it that way, you're going to be running into several problems, and that is what it ought to be. And in this, you see now that this is a block. This is now a block. The indentation now define that this is a block of code. So in that same way, you can also make another one, which you can also say, let's say you still see, come down here, and then let's go enter, and still maintain on this one that if let's say let's repeat the same thing again. So now if you press enter, you can see now that this is also, so this is another block of code. So you can see in here, so there is no problem. But if you bring this thing this way and then you still run the same thing, you see that you start having this indentation error. So because it doesn't follow the rules on how it ought to be. So these particular rules, if it is not followed that way, you are definitely going to have this type of issue that you can see me now having. Now, in generally, this is a way you can work on indentation, and these are one of the things you need to understand when it comes to Python. Now, another thing I also want to explain or introduce is the aspect of variable. So variable generally in Python are used to assign value to it. You use this method of assigning value like the way we do mathematics in school. So you assign value. For example, we used to say that x is equals to 2, for example, and we say y is equals to, let's say, 5, and they say you substitute the value of y into this. For example, if this happen and this is y, y is equals to 2, or what type of, like sometimes we say 2x, for example. So we say 2x in school. So let me use 2x plus 4 is equals to 9. Then we used to say what is x, for example. So if you remember this type of maths we used to do then in the school, for example, you see that you have to make x the subject of the formula, you have to move this one to this one and divide this by this. So what I'm trying to say generally, we use this thing to assign value. So whatever you put here, you declare here, that's automatically replace this one. So what it means is that as it stands now, that y is equals to 5, and sorry, that x is equals to 5 and y is equals to 7. It means that if I want to know what is x, if I run this particular code now, you see that x is 5. And if I change x to 58 and run it again, then it means that x is 58. And if I change y to 79 and say what is x comma y, and then you can see that x comma y is 58 and 79. So what it means is that whatever I assign to x, that's automatically what it understand. So that does not mean that you cannot assign any other thing. For example, I want to assign Lydia to 58, and then I will assign Balak at 279. So what it means is that if I say what is Lydia, then it means that it is going to be 58. Yes, because I assign this one to Lydia and this to Balak. So it means that I can say Lydia plus Balak, and I run the same code. So it's going to be this plus this, it is equals to this. So in this way, I can assign different other types of data type into it. So that means it is not only just going to be an integer like 58 or 60 or sort of things like that. So I can actually make a different kind of assignment to it. So generally, this is variable. So what we do in variable is that it is not like the other one. You have to declare this variable or so. So the moment you just say call a particular string, there are rules to variable anyway, which we are going to talk about. But you can see here that I say Lydia and then Balak. This is what it is, and then I need to know what is the output, and that's automatically gives me this. So in that same vein, I can also say that Lydia, and I will say she is a girl. So that means now this is going to be an error because you cannot concatenate, you cannot bring strings and integer the same way. But let me just say Lydia, for example, and then I'm going to run this. So you automatically see that this is going to give me that Lydia is a girl, because that is what I assign this particular Lydia to. So at the same time, I also want you to know that Lydia is different from Lydia, like this. And the same Lydia is different from this Lydia. And this Lydia also is different from this Lydia. So these are things you just need to understand here. So you can see that if I ask you what is this, you can say this is Lydia, this is Lydia, this is Lydia. So that means all these things are not the same thing, because this one started with small letter and this one ended with capital letter, small letter and small letter. So this is just what you need to understand, that each of them actually have different variable. It is different value that you have assigned to it. So if you need this particular thing, you just need to understand is that in terms of variable, which I'm going to talk deeply, I'm going to tell you the rules of variable, and you need to understand this perfectly. So in this part, Lydia is not the same thing as Lydia, and it's not the same thing as this Lydia, and it's not the same thing as this Lydia. So if I simply look for Lydia that have this capital letter, Lydia that have this particular one, and if I now say what is the output, as you can see here, it is going to pick she is a girl. And if I change this to the Lydia that have small letter, what happens is going to pick 7. And if I change this one to Lydia that have all capital letter, and to the Lydia that have all capital letter, so I'm going to go here and type Lydia that have all capital letter. What happened is going to pick this Lydia that is 45, because they are not of the same thing. So this is just what you need to understand, that when it comes to variable, so it is not when you're assigning variable, so you assign variable rightly to what it is. So now this is a string. This one is a string. This one is an integer. This one is float. So we are definitely going to be talking about each and every one of them later. But I'm just trying to let you get the introduction to what I am trying to say. And that is all about when you talk about variables. So like I said, we're going deeply, but I just want you to know that Python has no command for declaring a variable. So we'll talk about it very well. You just need to assign a value to it, and that's become what it is. So anytime you call that particular, it retrieve it. Now one more thing is, I want to also, because a Python is an interpreter, I want to replace Lydia here, and then I want to say that Lydia is equals to Ame. Now what happens if I go down here and call Lydia? So who can tell me what happened? Lydia, what do you think that will happen if I go ahead? I have declared the first one as Lydia, and then the second one, the same Lydia, the same name, the same thing. What do you think that is going to happen when I run this code? What do you think that will be the output? Because I am looking at these two. Let me probably clear this. And you see that I am looking at this particular two. Lydia, and then now I say that Lydia is a girl. And when I run it before, you can see that this actually show me she is a girl. But when I now say Lydia is equals to Ame, and then what do you think that will happen if I run the code? Lydia, can you guess what will happen? Is Lydia still here?
I'm allowed.
Are we still together?
Yes, we are together.
Oh, sorry. I don't know. I am muted.
What?
Yeah, sorry. I don't know that my PC, I muted it. What did you say?
I'm allowed.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, what do you think that will happen?
Come again with the screen.
All right, so I'm just trying to ask you that we have this here,
Mm.
and I have Lydia and Lydia, the same variable, like I've assigned the same value to Lydia and Lydia. Before, when I
Mm.
put it, so can you guess what will happen here?
It can print all.
Okay. Do anybody have a different opinion? Ame,
I think it's going to print a May
okay, why do you think it will print Ame?
because the first on the first line when you say Lydia equal to she's a girl and you run it and the second time is going to be Lydia is equal a May. I think that's what is going to run a May.
All right, that's beautiful because Python is an interpreter. So the first thing it goes is that what is in the line one, you say that Lydia is equals to a girl. And then the second line is say Lydia is equal to Ame. So what happens is that it replaces it with this. So we're going to talk about global variable and local variable. When we get there, you will understand another thing. But the whole thing is that this is actually what is going to print because you have replaced this one with this one. So automatically what it understands is this one. So in that part, so if I run this, I am going to have this is equals to Ame because you have replaced it with this one. So, but if you change it to something else, what happens is going to read this because that's what it understands. But the moment both of them are the same thing, what it automatically understands is, oh, you are referring to this particular one. So that's exactly what happens when it comes to this. Is that okay? Yeah, is that okay? All right. So another thing is I would just want to talk about a bit is what we call comments. Comment in Python is used for different purposes. The first thing we need to understand about comment, it helps us to actually make understanding, to interpret the code for others to read. And then the second way is that it also helps us when we don't want a code to run, so we put comment. How does comment work? Comment is, for example, you see the way we have Lydia equals to Ame. If I don't want Lydia equals to Ame to run, so I will put hash in front of it. So the code will still be there. And if you run it now, it will say that Lydia, like she is a girl. And if I go to the first one and put comment, you see it is inactive. I remove the second one and run it now. You can see now that it is Ame. So what happens is Lydia equals she's a girl is now inactive, while Lydia is equals to Ame is now active. Why? Because there is a comment that deactivated the code. So this automatically become comment. But comment is actually used to interpret the code. So what we mean is that I can say here, if I have a lot of code, let me know whether I have comment here. Yes, I have comment here. Now, if you look at this code now, if I share this code with you, you see that I just have a lot of things that I put down here. But if you look critically, see now that I am trying to say here, I'm trying to interpret what I did here, and I say get a basic challenge info, and then I go down here and say get all the tasks with pagination, and I go here and say calculate statistic, and I go down here and say combine all data, and I move down here and say you see these are comments that I use to explain right to CSV. You see, this is what I use now. This is another one is replace with actual API. So generally what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to use this comment to explain what I do in each of the line. So what it means is that you can also use comment to explain what you do in each of the line you worked on. So what it means is that here this become comments. I can use here to comment. And if you go to Python code and type that, let me say declaring variable. So you see now that this is not a comment because it does not have, if I run this code, I'm going to have an error, which is here. This is wrong. I'm going to have an error. So the only way you can get this done is make sure that you put up this like this. And this is what you are going to have here. So you see the moment I put this, it becomes a comment. Now a comment can come like this. Another way a comment can come is after here, you can say declaring variable. So whatever you type after this become inactive and become a comment. Another way a comment can work is by using three quotation in Python, where I can say declaring. So I type whatever I want here, and then if I go down again and put another three, this also become a comment here, as you can see. Whatever that is in between these three quotation become comment. So I can write whatever I want and I type here, that's okay. So that's automatically become inactive. So in Python, the first method is putting it in this line. Second method is putting it after. Third method is this way I put it up here. We're going to talk about this one a bit, but for now, just understand this because when I want to assign variable, I can assign variable using this. But for now, just know that this is another way you can make a kind of commenting. So in comments, it helps us to understand the code, defining the code by telling each and every code what the function is all about. You can use it, one, you can use it to explain your code. Two, you can use it to make the code more readable. Three, you can use it from the code to prevent it from running. Like you say, I made this one to prevent it from running. So that's the way you can put comment. You can put it from the beginning, you can put it from the end, and then you can also make it the code for not to work. And when it comes to the multiple line, you can put many comment as you want. For example, if I want to put everything here as comment, I can put it. In that way, a shortcut of putting a comment is pressing Ctrl and backslash here. If you press on it, I think it is close to the shift by the right hand side. So if you click on it like this automatically, anything you selected become commented. So this is a way you get to do when it comes to making commenting. So somehow, like I said, you can make a multi comment by using this particular method you are seeing here. can put everything you put inside here automatically become something like a comment. So this is how you can do when it comes to commenting, and that's generally on it. So we are now just going to move into the main one now, so which is variable. Do you have any question so far? Can you ask me right now? Any question? Anybody saying anything? Do we all understand? Okay.
Question.
All right, go ahead.
I tried to do by my own, but that's the first code you do, the first line of the code. Python, this one, the hidden one, it cannot work. The one. Can you help
Yeah,
and show me?
can you share your screen?
Uh,
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen. Okay. Okay, so what refused to work? I think you're muted. I don't know. Am I the only person that's not hearing her? Lydia, you're muted. Click on that hide. There is hide. Yeah, hide. Yes. Yeah, you can unmute.
okay.
All right.
As the one you do like this.
Okay. Go ahead.
There is how it is shifted from this press up to here to the one I can walk to. Do you get my question or?
Okay, like the way you activate, is it the way I was saying that you activate comments by selecting it? Yeah, press Control and backslide. There is a back space that is by the right hand side of your shift. There is something that looks like a slash by your right hand side of shift. Did you see it on your keyboard?
There is control and slash.
Yes, it is close to your control. Yes, exactly. Control and slash. Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. Yeah. So that's a way to activate or deactivate.
I get it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Okay, go ahead. I think he was raising his hand. Honore?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I got it. I was going to ask you a question, but I got it. I got
Okay,
the
all right,
answer.
great. Okay, so that's it on that one. So now we are going to the main variable. Like I said earlier, that variable has no command for declaring variable. A variable is created the moment you assign a value to it. The moment you assign a value to it, it becomes a variable in Python. So that means if I say that x is equal to 5 and I say that y is equals to,
Oh, sir, excuse me.
yeah, go ahead.
We are not seeing your screen.
Oh, sorry, I did not share. All right. So the moment you say that x is equals to 5, y is equals to ame, and then you can say z is equal to Lydia. So whatever you say here, the moment you assign the first value to it, it becomes variable. So means that whatever you want to declare, the same time I can still say that Kingsley is equal to Ame. Now this automatically become a variable. Remember that anytime you have strings, we are going to talk about strings, but anytime you have strings, meaning that you cannot say that Kingsley is equal to Ame. This is like the way you put it up here. Now this is a string. So if it is a strings, that means you need to come up with either single quote or double quote like this. Now this is just a variable. So the moment you declare them, you can go ahead and say print x, and you run print x is going to print 5, and you can also say print y, and when you run it, you're going to have 5 and a me, and you can also say print z, and then what are you going to have? You're going to have the same thing. And if you don't want to put it up that way, you can say print x, print y, print z, and then you run the same thing again. You see here it's going to be 5 ame 5 ame Lydia, whatever I put here. So I'm trying to separate them with brackets. So if I put also print Kingsley, then what happens? And also print king. So if you run the same thing, it's going to be on the same line. So you can see here, whatever I call here, for the fact that I've declared it here, it is just going to be the output. So anything I've declared here and I say print them is going to be the output. If you remember well, you know that before I was not saying print. If you remember this very well, so let me comment this to explain what I'm saying. If you remember, you know that I always just call Kingsley. I say X and it comes out. Now I'm going to explain this as we move further. I put print and I did not put print. I will explain why does it comes that way, and when I put print it still come. So you see that I'm using two different things now. So I'm using X and I'm using print. So this is okay and this is okay. But if you look here, you see now that the one thing you will notice is that because I say print this and I run this particular one, you see that here 5 and I say also print X, the same thing here, and I go ahead and say print X here, and then I run the same thing here. What happens here? You still have 5 5 5. So we are going to explain this a bit, but what I just want you to know that anytime you declare something and they say print it, that's automatically come out. So variable does not need you to declare any particular type. You can even change the type after you have set it up. So meaning that you don't need to say this is what it is and this is what it's not. But remember, like I said, that this is an integer. So I'm going to write a comment here and I'm going to say this is an integer. And this one, like I said, this is now a string. So I'm going to put comment and say this is string, and then this is a float. So you can say this one is now a float. Now, this is a way you can now declare whatever you need to declare. And what do I mean when I said you can change it later? Is when I say you can change that later, what I'm trying to say is that, for example, I want to say x is equal to 3 to 5. Now, if I say print x, this is a string. Sorry, this is an integer, as you can see. Now, but I can change this integer by casting them. We call them casting. If you want a specific type of data, you do this by using casting. What do I mean by casting? The way I have 5 here, I can decide to say, instead of me saying this, I want to make it into string, then I'm going to run it into string. Now, how do I know that I've casted it? When I say type x, type is used to know the type of data that you have. So you see now that it is now a string because I say type x. That's automatically make it a string. So if I remove the strings, this particular way I put it, and run it again, it is going to be an integer. Now, this same thing, if I put point something and add another number, what is it going to be? It is going to be float. So we're going to go into deeply on this aspect of data, but what I just want you to know is that anytime you put string and then put a number on it, that changes it automatically to string. The same thing if you have a number and you say that I want it to be an integer, for example, and you run it again, this is an integer. And you also change this thing and put float in front of it, that automatically makes it a float. So what I'm saying is this is an integer. This is a way you can make casting. So anytime you change this by putting string, integer, or float in front of it, and that's going to be float. That is why if I say here and I say print now, because I put float here, it's going to be 4 point something, because I've already casted it and say from now henceforth I don't want it to be a kind of integer again, but I want it to be float. So generally, if you want to know the type of data that you have declared, just type here and call what you declare. So just say type and call what you declare, and that's what's going to tell you the type of data it is, because I put float here and that's why it is showing me as float. If I put integer here, it's going to be integer. And if I put strings here and then run the same thing again, that's going to be strings. So this is the way you work when it comes to casting or not casting. Yeah, and remember what I said before when it comes to variable a bit. I said when I say this same thing I'm going to declare here now is the same thing as this. So there is no difference between them. Just know that this thing I'm saying now is the same thing as this. So there is no difference. The double quote and single quote, we can use them. When we start using this thing, I will explain to you a bit how you can use double quote and single quote, but in the same line, and make sure when you start with single quote and end with double quote, that's going to be together. So I'm going to explain that a bit more. But these both things I have declared now are the same thing, because I may and I may in double quote or single quote are the same thing. Yeah, that's all about that one a bit. And also, like I said before, remember that this is case sensitive. Not because you have a, for example, this thing is not the same thing as this thing. A is not the same thing. So when you are declaring variable, remember that A is not the same thing. They are not the same thing. Will not override A. What can override this A is this small a. So once both of them are the same thing, then it is going to override them. That's just what I want you to know. That when you are working with this type of thing, you should understand this type of thing. Now, when we talk about variable name, a variable can have its short name, or you can use it like a description. What I mean is that the way I put A is equals to A, and I can decide to say in a long description. For example, if I say name, I can say Ame. Now, I can still say that A is equals to Ame. It is okay like that. Like I can say A is equals to Ame. So I can write it as a kind of, I can write it like this. I can even say first name like this. So you can see different things that I'm doing, and I'm trying to tell you that depending on how you want to put it, that is just left for you. You can put it as a descriptive name, or you can put it as a short name. So in that wall, I am going to tell you the rules of variable. Now, one of the rules of variable is that variable must start with a letter or underscore character, meaning that when you're declaring a variable, it have to start with a letter like this or underscore like this. This is what I mean. This is how you can declare a variable. So a variable must start with a name or underscore. A variable cannot start with a number, like you start saying that 223 is equals to Ame. No, it is not possible. A variable must not start like this. That is one thing I want you to know. This is not a variable. This is wrong. A variable must not start with a number. Another thing is that a variable can only contain alpha and numerical character and underscore, meaning that from A, capital A, to small, from capital A to capital Z is okay, or small a to small z is okay. And you can also assign, like I said, you cannot assign anything from 0 to 9 when you're declaring variable, and also you can start with underscore. So this is how you can work when you're talking about variable. Hello, go ahead.
What makes it different when you start with capital letter or small letter?
Okay, what makes it different is that because it is a case sensitive.
Okay.
Yeah, it is case sensitive. So you remember, even in GIS, when you are querying by location, when you are querying by attribute, because indirectly we are talking about some of the things we use GIS. Like I said earlier, if you remember when I was saying that Lydia is not the same thing as Lydia. Now, before we move up a bit, I want to show you something. Let me say Lydia. So I want to let you know that what Python is doing is what we are going to be talking about is machine code. This is machine code. This is what the computer understands. This is the meaning of Lydia. All of us know what is binary because we study science. This is Lydia. You can see here. This is what Lydia means, and this is what the machine code is understanding. So in ASCII key, this is how Lydia is written. You can see here. This is how you write Lydia. Here to here. Now, if you come up with different code, this is what it understands. So if you put right Lydia binary, let's put hexagon. Let's put hex. Let's also put something like ASCII. Okay, there is also ASCII here. So Lydia is 76, 121, 100, 105, and 97. But in binary, this is what it is. And then if you go with what I type right now, you see that this is understanding in a different way. So the word you are typing in is different from what it is understanding. Like if you look here, this is what the code, this is the meaning of Lydia. When it talk about hexadecimal code, Lydia sees this thing as this. So this is what it understands as hexadecimal code. When you talk about this in bits, this is what you understand. In binary, the combination 3D hex, this is what it understands. 69, you can see what it understands. Then let's talk about the full binary code. This is what it looks like. So what I'm trying to say is that Lydia is not what it is understanding here. So if you don't put it here, because it is case sensitive, it might be different from what it is. So what it understands is different. So one of the things that make Python is that, over time, you see this message you type on WhatsApp and send. If you are to convert it to binary, it is too big. It is something that we cannot all understand. But the technology changes over time. Machine language have changed in such a way that it processes this thing for you, typing them at simple, and it goes. So imagine if Lydia is asked to write her name and she's writing her name in this particular format. It doesn't make sense. So it is case sensitive. That's just what I'm trying to say. So they are not the same thing. So if you are saying A is not the same thing as A, and you're saying B is not the same thing as B, and that's why you can assign different value to all of them and it works. Is that okay? That's what I'm saying, that these three things are not the same thing. They are age. But if you look, all of them are age, but because of the case sensitivity, it is not the same thing. So it is case sensitive. Variable names are case sensitive. Is that okay? Yeah. So another thing is that I want you to know that also that Python cannot use some of the keyword. For example, you cannot say that you want to declare is equal to Ame. No, that will not work. So remember some of the keyword or Python keyword, and you should know that if you use that, that is not going to work because it is not part of the Python. It won't work because, for example, if you are using is and assert, case, and rest of those Python word, the keyword, that's not going to work for you. So you need to know the keyword, and anything like I type here, you can see everything here. These are Python keyword. So if I type them, so you can see here, the moment I'm typing, all those things you cannot add. Like you go ahead and say case like this, class. You see, this is a case, the keyword. This is class. You cannot assign those kind of key. Anything you look here, you see the color changes. You see this color changes. Those color you are seeing that changes to this color are Python keywords. So you cannot be using them like and rest of them. So you cannot be using them to actually assign variable when you are assigning variable. So generally, what I mean is, if you say my age, this is okay. You can say my age. This is okay. This is okay. This is also okay. This is also okay. So this is also okay. So you can put different things, but the moment you start saying something like this, no, this is wrong, or you start saying like this is also wrong. So you need to know those keywords that you can put. You cannot also make a variable like this. You can see this is a keyword. You don't need to make them. You cannot also make a variable like this. This is a wrong. This is wrong one. You cannot have a space in between variable. So these are just small things you need to understand, and then get to also understand this. So multi-word variable name, you can make it in a camelCase. What I mean by camelCase is where everything that is necessary started with capital letter. This is camelCase. This one now is called camelCase. Now you have another one, which is PascalCase. The PascalCase is the camelCase is the one you start with the word starts except the first letter start with capital letter. Each of the word except the first letter all start with capital letter. So you can make something like that. So this is a camelCase here. You start with this. Now each of them start with capital letter. So this is a camelCase. Now the PascalCase is the one you start with capital letter like this. And this is just example. This is camelCase. This is capital. This is PascalCase, where each of them starts with that letter, and this is snakeCase. So basically, this is a way you can say I want to declare my variable in this particular pattern. So meaning that I can say age here is equal to, I will say 5, or I can say age here is equal to, I will say 6, or I can say age here is equal to, and I will say whatever I want to say. So what I'm saying is that this is the format where you can make camelCase, PascalCase, and snakeCase. So this is different ways you can bring this into work. So this is just exactly what you need to do. Now, this is when you assign single variable into it. What about when you want to go into assigning multiple variable into something? How do you work on that? In that case, I'm going to use x, comma y, and comma z. So if you look at this, and this is the way you can assign a multiple or into this. So what it means is that you declare something here. What is in the left hand side is supposed to be equal to the right hand side. Example, if I change this thing and only have x and y and run this code, this is going to fail because this is value error. It is expecting 2, but you have 3. So if you want to declare such kind of variable, then make sure that you put the variable in such a way that what is in the right hand side should be equal to what is in the left hand side. So this is a way you can assign multiple variable. So many variable to multiple variables. So you assign values to the variable. So I've declared x and y, and then here I can put different things and I can print each and every one of them. So this is a way to get it done. Remember the reason why this one is printing banana. So I need to change this to ame, and that's going to print cherry for me. So this is the way you assign. Make sure that what is on the right hand side is equal to what is on the left hand side, and this is a way you can get this done perfectly. Yeah, so this is how to assign multiple variable to, and there is also a way you can assign one variable to one value to multiple variable. What I mean by one value to multiple variable is if I come here, I copy this and I say here that I'm going to say x and y here, and I'm just going to run this. So that means if I make this one, so it means I assign everything here into here. So if I say here print x only, what am I going to have? I'm going to have orange, cherry, and this. But at the same time, I can also assign all the opposite direction of what I did now by saying x is equal to y is equal to ame, like what I did earlier, and then I can assign each of them here to all of them. So what it means is that I now assign one variable to all of them. So I'm going to stop here. That is one variable here to this. So if I print this, what am I going to have? I'm going to have orange. What do I mean? X should be equals to y and should be equals to array, which all of them should be equal to orange. If you print each of them, you're going to have orange, and that is what you are going to have. Now, before I stop, because I've said a lot of things, I'm going to talk about unpacking collection, which is also variable. So remember, anything you want, you can assign to it. How do you make unpack collection? So I'm going to call this one unpack a collection. Now, in unpacking a collection, how do you work on that. So example of working with unpack collection is what we have here. So you see here you will have fruits. Now you can say assign x, y, and z, and then this is going to come up here. Like I say, this is not going to only be fruit. So this is going, can be anything that you want, anything you put there of your choice. So make sure this is going to fail if you have less of item here and you run this. So this is not equal to it. So you make sure that all you have here should be equal to what you have here, such that they are going to be complete with both right hand side and left hand side, and that is the way you can assign those into it. So in that way, do you have any question? Do you have any questions so far?
Question. Please show you the screen. As you see, the fluids, Rwanda, Congo, and Kenya, right? Why we use this one and we print differently in different ways by the previous, where you said x, y, x comma y, z, you call like as you like a orange like that, to print in a different way or write different way in terms of codes.
In terms of, is it here?
Yeah, here.
Okay, so now I put this one inside here. Now I'm using lists. We're coming to that. This thing you see here is called lists. I'm trying to access item inside a particular listing. So this is called lists. But what happens here is that all these things I assign all of them to orange, such that if you call X, it will be orange, Y orange, Z orange. Because I assign all of them into it. All of them is orange. But in this way, I am doing the opposite direction, opposite thing. It is now an item inside this element inside here. So I'm trying to access each and every one of them. So if I say the same way, let me say country here, and then I'm also going to say that X and Y is still country here. So what it means is that since this is here, all of them are country. Now I want to access what is inside here. I can just pick what is inside, and I've assigned 1, 2, 3. This is also 1, 2, 3. So it means that automatically it will understand that 1 will map this one, Y will map this one, and Z will map this one. So this is the way we can get to access them, except I'm just trying to access an item in that element. So I can go ahead and now start saying that country, for example, we are going to be talking about this. So I'm going to say country, and then I'm going to say, try to assess what is inside there. So in that way, I might need to come with indexing, and then we are going to be talking about this anyway, but I'm going to make index. So you see that I started with indexing. I'm calling country, and I'm going to call what is inside here. Instead of me printing this thing here, and I'm going to be making indexing, which I'm going to start index 0 is Rwanda. So if I run this, I'm going to get 0 as index, which is Rwanda. I'm going to also get 1, and then that's going to be Congo. And if I say give me everything that is greater than 1, for example, and then I'm going to get Congo and Rwanda. This is just like a way you are going to access item inside the list here, which is a country. So in this way, we assign unpacking collection. You have a group of things and you want to access what is inside there. So you see now that I have the list of the country, but I only want to know which country is between the index of 1 to the rest of them, or which of the country is starting from the beginning. The first country inside this list is going to be what? Is going to be Rwanda. In this way, I can even have up to 50 countries going to Nigeria. Then I can have up to 50 countries going to Gabon. You can see here. So what it means is that anything inside here, I can just go inside here and unpack them, either by using this method or by using indexing method. So that means if I go in here and say, give me everything that is index of 2 and above, I can access what is inside the. There are too many unpacked variables. Okay, this is where the problem is coming from, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm supposed to also have up to 5 things that are here so that it will be able to access them. Did you understand what I'm saying?
Understand.
All right. So any other question?